So when you open VI, then you've probably written some codes. And then you have to save them, and then exit them, and then you bash them like this. If it doesn't work, you go back in with your VIM like this. You will learn how to split your screen, but for now, you can open another terminal. Open another terminal, and then go to the same directory where you are saving your code. So on the left screen, you edit your code, and then on the right screen, you run your code. Back again, edit them, save it, run it again, work with your error on the left, and then save it again, and then run it again. So rather than jumping into a single VIM and then coming out again, have two separate terminals. One is for writing, another is for running. We will do all of this within VIM in a few weeks, but this is what we do and how we start. This applies to Python, this applies to Linux. Write your code in a bash script and then run it on a different terminal. And I would like to suggest for all of us to, like, even really simple commands like ls, like doing whatever, you save a bash script for others. That's going to be really helpful for a project. So I know Nastia has been saving a bash file in a Core 3 project. That will be really helpful for me to see what you're doing and then carry on from the point that you worked on. I think that would be a really good practice for us. And one tip in bash script is you can leave a note by including sharp sign. This is me searching for X. You can leave a note with the sharp mark, and this line, the lines that start with sharp, doesn't get ran by bash. It's a good practice to leave a note, and especially when your code becomes difficult, it's good to leave your note for others to look at. Before we go into script, I wanted to show you this. So VIM, I know for the past 4 weeks, we have been struggling with our commands. And this is, I think, first hurdle of going into neuroimaging, because the terminal is really new from Windows or Mac that we have. We can click, we have mouse, we can just run things by clicking. But Linux is different. It has been really confusing, and that's why we had a few weeks of learning commands to make us comfortable using Linux. But I believe writing something in Linux shell is a bigger hurdle. It's a lot more difficult than writing simple ls, because you haven't used VI before. If you haven't used VI, you will have to install other text editors, which is normally not possible in Eris. So you will have to come back to VI at some point. But worst thing with VI is just completely new system from the editors that you have been using. So VIM, improved version of initial software that was made in 76 and is still being used, and there's a reason for this. Well, it's free and it's open source and it's very light, and it's pre-installed in most of the Linux versions. I have to work with many different servers, but I haven't seen a single server that doesn't have VI. But if you can't use VI and you want to use in a different server, you will have to install whatever IDE or whatever text editor that you can use. So I think as a person who's trying to run your imaging analysis in different environments, you will have to know a certain level of VI. But I think there's an advantage. It's light and fast and no graphics required. That means we don't have to connect to no machine. We can just SSH and use VIM. And this is quite fashionable, but I want to talk about this so you can become much faster editing your script. This is the learning process, however. The first use, I'm not sure if anyone's first time here using VI is today, but it's painful. I still remember first time using VI, and I actually stopped using it for many months because it's so painful. And then after that painful days, if you try for 3 days, it becomes less stressful, but still you won't be typing as quick. or even much slower than how you type in word processor because you don't have mouse. But if you try for 1 week, it becomes comfortable and you can get as fast as gedit or Notepad or something like this. But this is my opinion. If you give 2 weeks trying it in a proper way, you can become faster than gedit. But you have to try in a proper way. If you're using arrows, that's not a proper way. So if you use it in a way that how the VI was designed, you can start to save time in writing or in editing script or doing Linux stuff. In a month, it will start you saving time. Okay? So Vim is different because it is a text editor. It's not a writer. It's text editor. Editing and writing is different thing. So when you write stuff, you are just typing away. But when you edit it, you have to move around a lot. And that's how Vim was designed. The Vim is designed to edit a code, not write a code. So think about less typing, but think about moving around. So Vim is designed for moving around. That's Vim's focus, okay? And that's the mood that you are in when you first go into Vim. So you have to move around. You don't type anything, but you move around, okay? And pressing ESC will take you to a normal mode, the move around mode. And this is the mode that you have to be in. It's not a writer, it's an editor. And you have to be in the normal mode every time. And since ESC takes you to normal mode, you have to keep pressing ESC unless you are typing something. Okay? That's the one thing that I want to take from today's session. So whenever you finished typing, you press ESC to become in the normal mode and then move around and then press I back to go into the write mode. And then do not use arrow keys. J, K, H, L. If you look at the motion here, my hands are moving from default position into something very uncomfortable to the right. And you have to do this constantly in writing and editing, right? But Vim has made a way, put your fingers in a most default position so you don't have to move a lot. So J, K, H, L is the arrows in Vim, in the motion mode, in the normal mode. Okay? So this is what you have to do. So you have to keep pressing ESC to go into normal mode, and then do not use arrows, but use J, K, H, L to move around before you write anything. Do not use arrows button when you are using Vim. Otherwise, you're not going to get better. That's just one thing. Do not use arrows. This is going to be painful for 2 weeks, but I can guarantee if you're bad at 2 weeks, you'll be faster than everyone else in the lab who's using arrows. So keep pressing ESC and then the default button, and don't use arrows. That's the take-home message from today. In Vim, stay in normal mode by pressing ESC, keep pressing ESC, do not use arrows, J, K, H, L, okay? And try finishing the bash script that we were working on. And then if you have any questions, you can reach back to me. What are you using? Your laptop?
Yeah.
Do you have, what do you get when you type which brew?
Nothing.
Yeah. So brew is a software that you can install. It's an open source software, and brew installs for you lots of stuff that normally takes going to website and downloading a file and installing it for yourself. So I know many of you are using Mac. How about we install brew on your laptop? It's not going to break your laptop. This is what I installed on my computer as well. If you go to Google and then type brew, BREW, there will be a website on the top saying the missing package manager for macOS. If you click that, it will take you to a website which looks like this. What you do, and this is only if you are using Mac, what you do is you just copy this by clicking this, and then you come back to your terminal, and then you paste that into here, and then you type enter. Then it's going to install brew for you. Once that gets installed, you can do brew install tree. If you don't have brew, and if you try to install tree, you will probably have to go to source and then download it, and then double click on the downloaded installation file, and then you have to go through all that. But you can install brew, and then single line of command will do that for you. So this works for tree, this works for ACK. I think AWK should be in all of the Linux shells, but if you don't have that, you can install that AWK in Mac really easy using brew. Yep.